Joining us right now on the line for more is Bernard Harcourt, who's Professor of Law and Political Science at Chicago University. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us, Mr. Harcourt. First off, it seems that if there are no surprises, it would seem that the U.S. Senate should support Sotomayor's nomination. What should we expect from her? What would be the effects of her nomination on the U.S. Supreme Court, you think?
Right. Well, I mean, in the short term, year to 3 years maybe, there's not going to be too much of an effect. She's replacing David Souter, who was, although he was appointed by George Herbert Walker Bush, Bush Sr., became a very solid vote for the Democrats and for the left in the U.S. And in that sense, she is basically going to be replacing a solid Democrat vote, probably with solid Democratic votes herself. But she has a much stronger personality, and I think everything is going to play out in the conferences, in the discussions, in the conversations, which are all secret, of course, between the justices of the Supreme Court. So I think that over the longer term, it's likely that she's going to have more influence than David Souter had.
Right.
And
tell us a bit more about her background. Tell us a bit more about her background. What did the hearings over the last few weeks reveal about her personality?
Well, what they revealed about her personality is that she is a very skilled lawyer, right? That was the principal thing I think that we saw during the hearings. She spent 18 years on the bench. She's written approximately, I think it was 800 plus opinions. And basically, those were all very careful opinions, which didn't get any attention. The only thing that got attention from the Republicans at the hearing was a couple of lectures that she gave that were somewhat kind of inspirational lectures for young lawyers, for young women, young Hispanic women lawyers that troubled some of the Republicans. But I think what was clear and what we saw is that she really handled the questions in an incredibly adroit manner and moved the ball always back to the fact that if you look at her opinions, if you look at what she's done as a judge, she has not been, activist in any way, but has pretty much followed precedent and been a traditional judge.
And what's her stance on controversial issues such as abortion or gun control? Do you know?
Right. So, well, she has basically not taken explicit public stances on most controversial issues. She has had some cases that have dealt with those controversial issues, but they were always decided in a very legalistic manner that really didn't express in any way what her views were. So on gun control, for instance, she had held, prior to Heller, prior to the Supreme Court's decision, which created an individual right to carry a firearm, that there weren't individual rights and such, but those were always following precedent very closely, and so she never really took a position in any of those controversial issues.
All right, Bernard Harcourt, Professor of Law and Political Science at Chicago University. Unfortunately, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for speaking to us about Judge Sonia Sotomayor, who is increasingly moving towards becoming the first Hispanic justice on the U.S. Supreme Court.